This video is sponsored by Milanote. Ansel Adams is probably one of the most popular photographers of all time, and any Google search these days will let you know that he's probably at the top of any list of popular, famous, influential photographers ever. And so he's known for being this incredibly methodical artist, for being also very able to bring dramatism into his images, and able not just so much from a technical point of view, but also from a psychological point of view, from being able to assess reality and the feelings of it. And of course, later on in his life, he became very well known for his books, prints, and exhibitions. But today we're going to be looking beyond this being a commercial enterprise and focusing on the characteristics of his work and the artistry of his photographic images. And so, as we do that, we're going to be exploring the many reasons why Ansel Adams changed the photography game, and as well taking lessons to our own photography and to ourselves, whether that is today, tomorrow, or the next day, because we never know when you're going to be watching this video. So if you're watching in the future, pleasure to meet you. And this is all for now, so why don't you just go ahead, grab a drink, make yourself comfortable, and let's go straight to another video. Ansel Adams had what we can call an atypical personality, and growing up, this would show in his rebellious nature, his inability to connect with young people his age, and his adversity to following rules. However, in a movie-like fashion, his behavior changed once he started to engage with music, becoming an incredibly gifted pianist during his teenage years. And being a pianist was a dream Adams had for a long time, a dream he paired with another activity he suddenly found himself attracted to: photography. In 1916, his father gifted him a $1 Kodak Brownie, which he took with him during his first visit to the Yosemite. But young Adams became frustrated with this experience since the photos he took didn't reflect the beauty he saw. Naturally a perfectionist, this led him down the photography rabbit hole, as he became eager to learn more about his craft, get a better camera and overall equipment. And in a way, being a pianist taught him some necessary qualities to be a photographer, because just like a musician, there's this necessary discipline and a degree of sensitivity needed to practice each craft. And most importantly, just like a pianist has to be precise whilst playing his instrument, so does a photographer has to, in a way, share this art of precision either technically or subjectively, and in this case, Adams developed both. And after a decade where Ansel Adams would go back to the Yosemite and practice, this consistent work and effort put into learning and absorbing the beauty of the world, this openness, patience with oneself, and consistency in trying would lead him to release his first photographic portfolio titled Permilian Prints of the High Sierras, which he released in 1927 at the age of 25, roughly after 10 years of photography. He married Virginia Best, daughter of the late Harry Best, a landscape photographer whose studio at the Art of the Yosemite Adams would later inherit with his wife. And this would be a significant point in his career, as the studio, in which he had been selling prints since 1921, became a commercial landmark for his work and still functions today as the Ansel Adams Gallery. But of course, when it comes to Ansel Adams's work, one of the most basic questions is what made Ansel Adams, or in this case his images? And I would have to say, obviously, there's a lot of things we can talk about here, but the first and foremost, one of the things that I feel when I look at his images is the timelessness of it. Because if we go back in the day, and obviously around the 20s and 30s, as when he was photographing, a lot of the world hadn't still been seen. And of course, people were, in a way, not able to travel as much as these days. They didn't have the technology we have these days. And so they were naturally impressed by these towering landscapes, these rocks, these gigantic mountains, the peaks, these lines, everything that the compositions that were extremely beautiful and crafted. And I feel like this is a feeling that is described back then, of course, when people first saw his images, that still endures till today. Today we have all this technology, we have all these things, and still we look at Ansel Adams's images and are amazed and have that wow moment. Because we have this sort of ability to realize the magnitude, the depth of his images, the depth, the richness of his images in terms of textures, in terms of course, contrasts. And we have these towering landscapes that leave you in a way breathless. And so I feel like this feeling of, this whoa moment is something that is timelessness in a sense that anywhere in the future as well, people will still see the importance and value Ansel Adams's work. But of course, there are a lot of other elements that we can talk about, in this case, composition-wise, that bring really a lot of value into Ansel's images. And some of the formal aspects that need to be highlighted are, for instance, lines, such as leading lines or perspectives, parallel lines, or lines that intersected form a certain interesting visual relationship, creating a sense of harmony and balance within the image. Adams's use of negative space also creates incredible nuances and tonal ranges from darkness to light and vice versa. And on this subject of contrast is definitely a key in Ansel Adams's work. And these contrasts are created by a perception over the dramatic qualities of light, which can be achieved by developing your photographic eye and perceiving the space and how light affects that same space during the course of a day or night, but also through the use of certain equipment such as different lenses and filters that can accentuate the feeling of a certain landscape. And in here I think it's important to talk about another reason why Adams's work is fundamental to study, and that is visualization. And instead of sitting here and rambling about a possible definition of visualization, why don't I just go ahead and give you an example of it? And so if we take one of the most famous images Ansel Adams ever photographed, which is Monolith, the face of Alf Dome, we see that there's this incredible beauty, this incredible contrast, the dark skies that kind of accentuate the sort of magnitude of the rocks and like the surfaces and everything. And it's really, really interesting. But how would you feel if I told you that this wasn't actually his first shot? And this here was his first shot. As you can see, there's clear differences in the contrasts, in the shadows, in the sky. And looking at this photo, Adams knew that even though this was a perfectly acceptable document of the scene he was seeing, it wasn't what he actually was seeing. Because he wanted to convey the scene visually, but also the feeling it had, the magnitude it had. And so in order to take a second shot, he used a heavy red filter. And these filters are known for giving a very dramatic contrast by turning blue skies almost black and making clouds in lighter areas stand out. And talking about visualization, Adams said, "We must explore what lies before our eyes for its significance, substance, shape, texture, and the relationship of tonal values. We must teach our eyes to become more perceptive." In other words, visualization is the exercise of looking, interpreting a scene in front of you, and visualizing the final image before you even press the shutter. So in this exercise, which is still extremely relevant for photographers today and will continue being in the future, we photographers assess the main qualities of the subject and the scene emotionally and visually speaking before even capturing. However, during these early stages of Ansel Adams's career, his photography didn't exactly fit with what was in vogue, particularly for West Coast photographers, who would focus on capturing the beauty of the subject matter, emphasizing tonalities, soft focus, and composition rather than documenting the reality of it. According to this perspective, which is known as pictorialism, the camera would equate a paintbrush, which should be used for artistic expression. And in order to shake and disrupt this notion, Adams joined a group of photographers such as Edward Weston, Imogen Cunningham, or William Van Dyke to found the F64 group, which emphasized a purist style of photography whose highly detailed qualities would come from the use of extremely small apertures such as f64, f32, f22, and so forth. And so the use of such small apertures promoted detail, but also, and more importantly, for the scope of this video, depth of field, which is yet another subject which Adams is a pioneer of. And Adams had this enormous visual and emotional intelligence to realize that depth of field could accentuate a scene's dramatism, lyricism, and therefore create a more emotional object, which we can easily relate with. In conclusion, Adams understood the importance of combining realism with emotion to bring drama and depth into an image, which is one of the many reasons why his photos stand the test of time. And to research, align, and write this video, I used Milanote, and Milanote, the sponsor of today's video, is a tool to organize your creative projects. Just imagine going into a creative studio and seeing all these images, sketches, ideas, notes stuck up on walls. But now reimagine this entirely online where the walls are, well, infinite. With Milanote, you can collect and organize all your thoughts and ideas, as well as put together checklists, visualize, gather inspiration, and set a visual direction for your project. At the same time, just like in Hitchcock movies, you have a bird's eye view over everything that's going on, and when you're ready to share your work, you can invite your colleagues and clients, gather feedback, and collaborate with them in real time. And currently I use Milanote to manage my daily tasks, write videos for my channel, plan projects, and future photography trips. And I love the fact that I have it all in one platform, which I can take with me everywhere. Milanote is also available for free with no time limit, and you can sign up using the link on top of the description and start your next creative journey. And I'd like to thank Milanote for kindly sponsoring this segment, and now let's go back to the video. And of course, talking about Ansel Adams, we wouldn't leave behind the famous zone system and of course his amazing darkroom work. And in here I would have to say that one doesn't really go without the other, because you can't really work freely, in a way, your image in a darkroom without having it properly exposed whilst you're shooting. And the zone system was a co-collaboration between Ansel Adams and photographer Fred Archer. And in very basic terms, this system's goal is to correctly expose the different elements of a scene by ranking them into different zones based on how dark or bright they were. And so this creates an overall reference to get a correct exposure of a given scene. However, the benefits of using this system go beyond this. Because of its precision, you can have a precise metering of different tones and tricky light scenarios before even taking the shot. Or you can know exactly when to use density or color filters to get your intentions through your images. And weirdly enough, you can get a great sense of color through your images, whether they're actually color film or black and white film, since you'll begin to notice the richness and importance of tones and shades within the black and white dramatic language of a scene or spectrum. And this, of course, is something that is complemented by his excellent darkroom work. And in the darkroom, Adams would experiment and manipulate his photos, famously using techniques such as dodge and burn, which in negative printing means to be able to control the light in certain areas of the photo in order to achieve different effects. In dodging, one reduces the light in specific areas, so the photo will be brighter, generally speaking, with areas that are specifically darkened. And in burning, one increases light at specific areas, which causes the overall darkness of the printed paper. And so this has been all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a pleasure putting this video together because honestly I've learned so much. And looking back as I've been doing this research for the past few months, I've realized that in the past few months my YouTube videos have been kind of like, in a way, touching a lot of the things that I focused on in this video. We talked about visualization early in January. And, we've been talking about concepts, whether that is a video about my photography or about someone else's work. And I've been touching a lot of concepts that I was learning with this video. And so I think this is very interesting, not from just an academic perspective, but obviously from a creative perspective. And so I'm going to be leaving links down below to Ansel Adams, to more about his work. So you're welcome to check it out, books, anything that you would like to know. And also links to my work will be down below if you're curious about that. And if you want to grab a print, links to my print shop will be there as well. And just a quick reminder that a portion of each sale of every print between the months of April and June will be donated to Sea Shepherd, which is it's an organization dedicated to marine conservation. And so I would also like to thank you for watching, and if you'd like to leave some feedback down below and some ideas for future videos, you're more than welcome to. And yes, I guess that it's been all for today. So I'm gonna be saying my goodbyes now, so stay safe, keep shooting film, subscribe for a cookie, peace.